Frank Gonzalez with Cinemark Theaters here with Topher Grace, one of the stars of the new movie BlacKkKlansman, opening up at Cinemark Theaters on August the 10th. Topher, you played David Duke in the movie, which is a pretty tough task because you're not like him at all.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Do we get that on the record? Yeah, just say that again. Yeah.
So, but how do you prepare for a role like that?
Well, I got this call from Spike Lee. You got the role.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of the great days of your career. We're the great filmmakers of our time. You know, I was so excited, followed by kind of the worst month of my life. I just had to do so much research about living in a headspace that I don't even want to think about. I read his autobiography. It's called My Awakening, which is kind of just his thinly veiled Mein Kampf about his belief system. And then I watched a lot of filmed interviews of him from the 70s. And he was actually on some episodes of Donahue in the early 80s. It's so depressing. It's why you need a great filmmaker like Spike. Every time on set I would get a little overwhelmed or depressed, he would come up to me and say, you know, I got you. This is my message. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing here. He's a great leader.
Such as yourselves. Real warriors for the real America, the America that our ancestors fought and died for. The true white American race, the backbone from whence came our great Southern heritage. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for never putting your country second. America first.
And he brought in elements of humor to kind of almost diffuse the situation, didn't he?
Well, you know, it's funny. There is humor in the film. Doesn't stop it from being devastating when it needs to be. I just think that's what's so smart about Spike. And it's just something that Jordan Peele did last year, which is you kind of get your message to more people by sugarcoating a little bit. And I think it's really smart.
You know, one of the really intense scenes for me was the watching of Birth of a Nation. And that was something that was...
That was my worst day.
Yeah, I would imagine
set,
it would be, because you have to really enjoy something that's so atrocious that's going on screen, and you have to be able to portray that. That's an incredibly weird way of perceiving the world.
Well, we were already at a Klan rally, which is kind of terrible enough, but then to be sitting in a crowd watching a racist film, and then I was, Spike wanted me to start leading everyone in a chant that was really racist, and that was, I'm not a method actor, so I'm not someone who has ever, you know, I don't bring it home with me. I'm pretty happy-go-lucky on sets, even if it's a depressing day. I just like to feel comfortable on set. That was my hardest day, probably in my career, where I just, I was so overwhelmed. Adam Driver, who was there, because he's undercover in that scene, made a great point, which he said, look at these outfits. Like, look at this belief system. These guys are idiots. It made me feel better. If you step back, like the whole ritual and everything, it's just so moronic.
Well, it's moronic, the situation, but it's a really a great movie. Thanks, Scott, a lot for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.